Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Okay, Rabbi Amy does not really tolerate a weak Shabbat Shalom or a non-compliant Shabbat Shalom. So what we'll do is we'll try it one more time, and I think she'll be more excited. One more time?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, wow, they're compliant.
Nice. Welcome. We're so glad that you could join us this morning as we celebrate Shabbat together, and of course, as we call Dvir to the Torah to become Bar Mitzvah. So a few words before we begin. We hope that when you walked in that you grabbed a siddur, a prayer book, so you can follow along in the service with us. Dvir has worked very hard to prepare for this day, and so we're so delighted to be able to have him lead the service with us. Now, we know that, of course, these are somewhat strange times because of COVID, and so we're so appreciative of everyone keeping their masks on for the entirety of the service. But we do still invite you to sing along, to read along, so we can really enjoy this experience together. And of course, we want to give a special welcome to all of Dvir's family and friends who are watching in Israel and other parts of the country and who couldn't be here with us in physically today, but we know are really in this room and enjoying this experience with us. So it is our pleasure to invite up Dvir to become Bar Mitzvah. Come on up, my friend. All right, no, you don't have to clap every time. It's very cute, but okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Our service begins on page 170 in the blue prayer book. May my life be one link in a chain of goodness. As I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is in my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know. Enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done, so may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring the Spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shehechezarta bi nishmati v'chemla Rabbi emunatecha Rabbi emunatecha.
Please turn to page 195 and rise for the call to worship.
Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach, hamevorach leolam vaed. Hamevorach, hamevorach leolam vaed.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל, המאיר לארץ ולדרים, עליה ברחמים, ובטובו מחדש הכל. יום תמיד מעשיך בראשית, מה רבו מעשיך אדוני, כולם בחוכמה עשית, מלא הארץ כנך. תתברך אדוני אלוהינו, על שבח מעשיך ידך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית, יפרוך שלה. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהארץ לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Amen.
The world is in sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart. bringing light to the eyes, more welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth in silence, welcome them, you who redeem the sound from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzei HaMeorot. We join in singing the Shema at the top of page 200.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, a soldier's home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש.
Please turn to page 205 and rise for the tefillah.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מחכה חיים וחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומציר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיים, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הקום. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הקום.
You are the open door that beckons me in. Peeking around the door frame, I begin to enter your glory. You move me forward, O Eternal, to step beyond self-made boundaries. Lift my foot over the threshold, that I might abide with you. In the house of the Eternal, I find my questions, waiting to be posed. They filled me with wonder. Sit with me, Eternal Teacher. Encourage my seeking as I fill my hours with your mitzvah. So shall I be filled. Set me through your door, stretching up to honor your name, sharing out this wonder, enriching myself in the giving.
We join together now in words of Kedusha on page 208. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהייך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. And we'll join now together in a prayer for peace, singing together the words of Sim Shalom, which can be found on page 216. Sim, sim, sim shalom, sim, sim, sim shalom, sim, sim, sim shalom, tova uvaracha. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai yai dai dai dai. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
So, Dvir, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. But before we bring you back up, I'm just going to update the crowd on how we've done so far, where we are, and where we're headed to. Is that okay? Okay, cool. All right, so for those of you that aren't fluent Hebrew speakers, it's very funny because sometimes we tell our children, don't worry if you don't get the Hebrew right. There's nobody here that speaks Hebrew anyway. That's not the case today, so no pressure. But I feel like you have some background in that area, so you'll be okay. So the service is a very beautiful thing. It's a very powerful thing, and it's very important that we recognize that it's being led by our bar mitzvah today. It's important to recognize that because sometimes in some congregations, the wearing of a talit signifies that you are married. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that Dvir is not yet married and that he is instead honorarily our Shliach Tzibor, and he's leading the service. And it's very important that he has his talit, which is given to him by his father, by his family. And thus far, what he's done in leading us is he's taken us through an entire spiritual history of the cosmos, led us through the stories of our great ancestors, the matriarchs, the patriarchs, the imot, the avot. And then we spoke a little bit about the story of Egypt, which we'll be coming back to very shortly, and how the Red Sea parted. And now, after all of our wandering and never asking for directions, we're stuck at the foot of this little Mount Sinai, for which there is a glowing flame at the top. And Dvir is going to be in the role of Moses, going up, receiving the law from the mountaintop, bringing it down. And because, again, it is in Hebrew, he's going to have to explain to us, as a rabbi would traditionally, what in the world do you think this means? And in Hebrew, the word for religion is, I've been told, da'at, and the word for opinion is da'at. So there is no difference between religion and opinion. They're one and the same thing, Baruch Hashem. And Dvir will be giving his opinion on this week's Parsha and giving us a sense of where to go, enlightening us, and through that we receive what we recognize spiritually as redemption and revelation.
We know, though, that receiving this Torah is not something that Rabbi Michael and I are giving to you today, that this is really a gift from your family from one generation to the next. And knowing that many of your family, unfortunately, are still in Israel, today we are still symbolically passing the Torah from your parents, and we're going to include your uncle as well, down to you. But we know that the rest of your family watching in Israel, that we are imagining you as part of this chain of tradition. And so we're going to symbolically include you in this, but also ask Dvir's parents to pass it to him. And so we'll ask you all to please rise. And Tamar, if you could help us come and open the ark.
Ador v'ador nagid golecha. L'dor v'ador, we praise your name. Perfect right here. From generation to generation. L'dor v'ador, together we praise your name. So we pass the teachings through the generations. Tomorrow you don't get it yet because you still have some time. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Lecha Adonai Hagedula v'Givura v'Tiferet v'Hanetzach v'Hod. ככל בשמיים ובארץ, ככל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה, ומי נעשה לכל ראש. So the parsha that Dvir is reading from today is Parshat Yitro. The Torah blessings can be found on page 250, and Yitro is one of these amazing Torah portions that has all sorts of fantastic stuff in it, including the Ten Commandments. He's not reading those because hopefully you already know those, so instead he's reading the very beginning.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך,
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
וישמע יתרו כהן מדיין חותן משה את כל אשר עשה אלוהים למשה ולישראל עמו, כי הוציא אדוני את ישראל ממצרים. ויקח יתרו חותן משה את ציפורה אשת משה אחר שלוחיה, ואת שני בניה, אשר שם האחד גרשום, כי אמר גר הייתי בארץ נוכריה, ושם האחד אליעזר, כי אלוהי אבי בעזרי ויצילני מחרב פרעה. ויבוא יתרו חותן משה ובניו ואשתו אל משה על המדבר אשר הוא חונה שם הר האלוהים, ויאמר אל משה, אני חותנך יתרו בא אליך, ואשתך ושני בניה עמה, ויצא משה לקראת חותנו, וישתחוו, וישק לו, וישאלו איש לרעהו לשלום, ויבוא העלה, ויספר משה לחותנו את כל אשר עשה אדוני לפרעה ולמצרים, על אודות ישראל, את כל התעלה אשר מצאתם בדרך, והצילם אדוני, ואחד יתרו על כל הטובה אשר עשה אדוני לישראל, אשר הציל מיד מצרים, ואומר יתרו, ברוך אדוני אשר הציל אתכם מיד מצרים ומיד פרעה, אשר הציל את העם מתחת יד מצרים. עתה ידעתי כי גדול אדוני מכל האלוהים, כי בדבר אשר זדו אליהם. ויקח יתרו חותן משה עליו אזבחיים לאלוהים, ויבוא אהרון וכל זקני ישראל לאכול לחם עם חותן משה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. So we're going to invite Guy forward to lift up the Torah so you can see what Dvir just read.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. This is the Torah which Moses placed before the people of Israel, God's word through the hand of Moses. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאים האמת בצדק. בשנת מות המלך עוזיהו, ואראה את אדוני יושב על כיסא רם ונישה ושוליו מלאים את ההיכל. שרפים עומדים ממעלו, 6 כנפיים לאחד. בשתיים יכסה פניו, ובשתיים יכסה רגליו, ובשתיים יעופף. וקרא זה על זה ואומר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלא כל הארץ כבודו. ויענו אמות הסיפים מכל הקורא, והבית ימלא עשן. ואומר אוי לי כי נדמתי כי איש טמא שפתיים אנוכי ובתוך עם טמא שפתיים אנוכי יושב כי את המלך אדוני צבאות ראו עיניי. ויעוף אלי אחד מן השרפים ובעדו רצפה במלקחיים לקח מעל המזבח. ויגע על פיו ואומר הנה נגע זה על שפתיך ושר עונך וחטאתך תכופר. ואשמע את קול אדוני אומר את מי אשלח ומי ילך לנו ואומר הנני שלחני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל העולמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדשה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בכל קהל חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Today you heard me read Parashat Yitro. Yitro is Moses' father-in-law. In the beginning of the Parsha, Yitro is learning about all the great things God did for the Israelites, which he didn't know because he is not an Israelite himself. In the meantime, Moses is having his own problems. After having led the Israelites out of slavery, he is now the greatest man in his nation. Sounds great, although there is a small price for being the greatest. He now has to answer everyone's questions. Day and night, there is a huge line of people just waiting for him to talk to God for them and answer their questions. Yitro, Moses' father-in-law, is asking to give Moses a piece of advice. Moses, the greatest man in the nation. That's like me, a 13-year-old, going to the president and telling him I can help him do better. Now, Moses is in a dilemma. He doesn't know if he should listen to his father-in-law's advice or just keep doing things his own way. After all, Yitro could always be wrong. Sometimes I also feel like I'm in this position. There are many people in my life who could help me with my problems, but sometimes it could just make things worse. If I need help with my homework, it will be a great idea to ask my parents. But if I need help with a level I'm stuck on in a game, I should probably ask someone else. Sometimes in life, you need to know who you can ask for help because just like Moses, doing everything alone can be really hard. On the other hand, you also need to know what problems to keep to yourself. At the end of the story, Moses accepted Yitro's offer and it did end up helping. He didn't have to keep giving advice for the rest of his life. All of that just because he allowed other people, good people, to help. Now that we're done with my quote-unquote movie, there always needs to be some sort of credits. So first, thank you so much for my amazing parents. They are the reason I'm here in the first place, and in more ways that you might be thinking. If you don't know, I moved to the US 4 years ago. We had a plan to come back in around a year or so, and now I'm standing on this bima 4 years later, having my bar mitzvah. How time flies. Without the endless support and love that my parents give me every day, I wouldn't be here right now. Next, I want to give credit to my sister. Most memories with you are great. I remember the countless amount of laughs that we had together. You're such a great person to talk to, and today, you didn't even sleep at a friend's house. And that's saying something. Also want to thank my rabbis and all my friends who are here today supporting me. I want to thank my family who is watching in Israel, who I wish could be here today. I just want you to remember that you are still always with me in my heart. Now, the part that you are all waiting for, the end credit scene. Advice in life can come in many different ways and from many different people. It is important to know who to turn to when you need help, and the times when you can't trust your own knowledge and experience to help you make the right decision. And becoming a bar mitzvah, I hope I'm able to know how to do both.
I think I'm gonna need this. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Dvir was born in the end of 2008, 20 years after my bar mitzvah, that took place in the end of 1988. Today, Dvir, we're celebrating your bar mitzvah as our firstborn son. Like you said, how time flies. Before I'm going to say a few words to you, I would like to thank all of you here for coming here and join us on our very special day. These days with the worldwide pandemic, it means a lot, really a lot to us. Some of you here been with us since Dvir and us moved here 4 years ago, and seen Dvir growing up from a third grader to a bar mitzvah grader. Indeed, how time flies. Thank you, Rabbi Amy and Rabbi Michael, and the TI congregation for a great job leading us to this stage. Danny, my brother, and Noam, special thanks to you for coming from a warm weather in Florida to this freezing weather here in St. Louis. Last but not least, our families in Israel. Thanks for watching us. In a few more minutes, you will be able to go back to your dinner table and get ready for the new week coming. Dvir. Dvir at the Torah, it's not a famous given name to a great leader, a Kohen, a Navi, or a warrior. Dvir is actually a place. It is the holiest place in the temple, the Kodesh HaKodashim, where the Torah was kept. Dvir, or as we call you at house, at home, Dvirush, you are becoming a man now. Okay, a 13-year-old man. But for us, you will always be our firstborn son. As a man, you are in many cases responsible for building your own path going forward. But please don't forget to keep being our kid. Don't stop playing for us again and again. Billy Joel and Queen songs on the saxophone, massaging me and mom when we're watching the news on TV, and keep share with us your daily social, school, and online gaming updates with your own way of analyzing every detail of why and what needed to get better. We are fortunate to have you as our son, a very smart guy, great observer skills, values you follow, and unique sense of humor, but above all, with a huge heart. As you said in your Dvar Torah speech, Yitro gave an advice to Moshe, and you, with your great of way to explain, mentioned that it's like you giving an advice to the President of the United States. I want to tell you, Dvir, many presidents across the world, including the President of the United States, would be fortunate to get an advice from a smart, wise man like you. So go, Dvir, follow your dreams. We are always here to support you. We love you so much, Ima, Abba, and Tamar.
All right, so Dvir, we get to give you a few things now. First is a little certificate that says that you became a bar mitzvah today, and I was joking with your parents earlier that this is the first time that I'd be to be so careful that I spelled all of the Hebrew names correctly, because you guys know if I'm spelling it right. So, but I did it right, so you can always have this to prove, should anyone doubt you. We also have this little gift from the Temple Israel community that we hope you use in good health at all your sacred occasions. And then last, we have this certificate that we give every single time someone becomes a bar mitzvah here at Temple Israel, but feels a little bit different for you because it is a gift certificate to help you get started on a teen tour to Israel. So, here's what I want to say. I hope, and this is, I don't know what your family's plans are, but I really, really hope that you guys don't go back to Israel. I hope that you stay in St. Louis for a very, very long time. And then you can use this and you'll be able to go with, all your friends in the back and you guys can all go together and have a wonderful time. But, I will tell you that earlier in the year when you first mentioned that you guys might be heading back, the one thing that I said to Jonah is I said, as much as it would be awful to see Dvir and his family leave, it would be pretty cool to be able to go to Israel and visit him there. So please know that if you guys do head back to Israel, you won't be able to use this certificate, but all those guys in the back, guys and girls back there, they are going to use their certificates so that they can see you and you can show them an amazing time in Israel. And what I want to say is just to acknowledge that it is a different experience for Rabbi Michael and I when we are working with an Israeli on becoming a bar mitzvah, because again, as all the kids in the back know who have become bar mitzvah before, for most American Jews, the biggest struggle in becoming a bar mitzvah is the Hebrew. And they learn it for years and years and years, and they will never, nor will we ever, sound as good as you do reading from Torah or reading the prayers. But it's also an extra challenge because it means that we are always thinking, well, what is it that we can give to you? And what is it that we can make sure that you come out of this experience knowing? And what I will say is, even though the Hebrew, of course, was such a breeze for you, first of all, it didn't have to be a breeze, you have learned it so beautifully and you read out of the Torah like it was nothing. But most importantly, when Rabbi Michael and I sat down to study Torah with you, you could have written 10 different Divrei Torah. You could have written 10 different speeches on what this parsha meant, not just because it's such a great parsha, but because you had so many incredible thoughts about what this Torah was for you. And so clearly you have become this bar mitzvah in every way that we would hope, really showing your maturity and your knowledge, and we are so proud of what you've accomplished, and we hope, God willing, to be share many more simchas with you in the years to come.
How you doing? You okay?
Yeah.
Hanging in?
Yeah.
Here first, I just want to thank your family who took the time to study and to participate all along the way, and to say hello to your family in Israel, and to acknowledge that it is a really tremendous gift that they're here to join us virtually, that there's things that are seen and unseen, and you should know that this moment has a magnitude. It's bigger than you might think. There are a lot of things that I'd love to say. I'd like to speak for the next half hour, but you have to go. And these fine folks that are here to celebrate you. And I just want to go on and on about the individual that you are. I think a lot has been said. I just want to tell a quick story. It's a little embarrassing in some ways, but I hope it doesn't compromise you entirely. So a few years ago, when all of when the Mitzvah started, when things began, before things began, actually, before trouble began, you were at the 5th grade center, and you were walking home, and I asked my son a little bit about the different people that are walking home from the school by themselves. And he said what your name was. When I said, one of these things is not like the other, as they used to say on Sesame Street, which you've never seen because it doesn't matter. It happened about 100 years ago. But eventually we got to know you a little bit, and I heard that you were from Israel and that you had just moved here. And I realized that you were walking home by yourself. And at first, I didn't want to be weird, but I told my son, ask him if it's okay if we give him a ride. Now, part of it was just the dad in me that was just like, I'd appreciate it if I could give somebody else a ride. But the other part is just the idea that comes from your Torah portion, that it's hard to be a new person in a new place. And what I felt in my heart and in my soul when I saw you walking by yourself is that this kid should not walk alone. And so I want to ask your forgiveness for me always asking you, do you need a ride? Do you need a ride? And being, handling you and giving you a hard time. I know you can walk on your own. And I think that your family is acknowledging, today you're a bar mitzvah, you have what it takes, should you need to walk on your own. But I think that the Parsha also teaches that you don't have to. And I think that that's what you taught us. And for me, it was a privilege every time I got to pick you up and schlep you. Sometimes schlepping is a privilege. Moshe got to schlep all of Israel all across the desert to the promised land and then drop them off. He couldn't make the whole trip. It's just drop off. Know that wherever you go, that there are people around you that really care about you and that you exude this kind of charisma that people are drawn to. And that in your life, it should be a bracha. You should never have to walk alone. And you should know, if you ever see somebody, try to make sure that they are not a stranger in a strange place. Reach out to them and make sure that they know that there is somebody else that is there along their side and with them, as you've done for so many of your friends, and as I had the privilege of doing for you, which I won't do for you anymore. Go call me. Mazel tov.
So we'll ask you all, if you will, to please rise, and Dvir, if you'll join us in front of the ark for one final blessing. May God bless you and keep you.
May God's light shine upon you and guide you as you go on your way.
May God's countenance be lifted over you. May you be granted with wholeness and peace. So we're going to take a moment now and we'll return the Torah to the ark. Rabbi Michael, if I can get you to lift that, please. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim olam omed. Al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. And we turn now to page 282 at the bottom for words of Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. On page 287, may we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. So Dvir, we know too that there are those members of your family who are no longer with us and who you are honoring their presence and their spirit so much today. So thinking of those and thinking of all those who we've lost, we turn together to the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 294. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'amad divarach cheruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'emru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'emru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'emru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen. So, Dvir, after our service today, your family is inviting everyone to a little festive kiddush in your honor. And so we have to say a few final blessings. And we want the whole family to come up? You want to come up? Yeah, come on. Uncle Dan, Noam, come on up. Sivan, Tamar, the whole gang. All right. All right, so how about Kiddush? Dvir, you can lead the way.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
Chaim.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ.
Amen. All right, Dvir, last night you and your friends ate like the whole challah. So you can totally dig into it again,
Martina thought that it wasn't there.
but there are more treats afterwards. Take a bite. Yeah. All right, so my friends, so we want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. We are going to invite Dvir and his family to lead you out the door so they can join you for Kiddush. Thank you so much for being here. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yeilanu, yeilanu, yeilanu. Ulecho Yisrael, Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. And now everyone can
God
follow
forbid
them.
you should go hungry.
Go
Everybody
eat.
eat. Everybody eat. Mazel tov. I want to say that we went trick-or-treating with the parents.
Dvir had all these things attached to it with a bobby pin.
With a bob?
So great. Oh my gosh.